But the mission, like the holy grail here is imagine right from within Gmail that like pay your credit statement. You click it and it's an actual like honest to God button that pays your credit statement right from the email. And so that's a long way off to like get, native integrations into things like Gmail or Bank of America. But what we launched with Solana Foundation last summer is this for crypto native projects and apps.
Today's guest is Chris Osborn, the founder and CEO of Dialect. Dialect is a Web3-centric user experience stack that basically is trying to make crypto more accessible. As many people in crypto know, it's not that accessible right now, so definitely important. It co-launched Blockchain Links, or Blinks, together with Solana last summer and has powered over 600 integrations since then. This is the third episode, part of the Solana Session series, where we dive into founders, journeys, and startups building on Solana. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jackie. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you. To start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you even got into this space?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a journey for me. My background is actually in the sciences. I did my PhD in physics here in New York, actually. I know we're recording in New York, and studied something completely unrelated. So it was like a field of physics called atomic physics. Has a lot of different applications, but probably the most interesting to the public today is quantum computing. And so I actually like had a previous career in like physics and quantum computing.
And that wasn't crazy enough for you?
Well, I like to joke that I've jumped between fields that don't yet have product market fit. So like quantum computers are going to change the world, but it's a little early. I was there at a really a moonshot startup called Rigetti Computing for about 3 years and ended up leaving to found this company. Started it outside of crypto. I've been following crypto for a long time. It's a whole separate story. Ended up doing YC on a different idea. So we did Y Combinator and then... keep this very brief, but discovered Solana, the like technology, in early fall of 2020.
That's pretty early.
Yeah, so it was early. And then I was working on this different idea at the time. And then about a year later, was just like seeing the Solana ecosystem really take off. This was like the sort of pre-FTX, that first run for Solana, its first like really breakout moment. I was like, I had an opportunity with the startup at the time. We'd taken a little bit of money through YC. I was just like, you know what? Like this current thing I'm doing, my heart's not in it. And for a lot of different reasons, which maybe we'll get into, crypto was really standing out to me as like the technology I wanted to like bet my career on. It's also just like super interested in it, just intellectually.
And this is 2020.
This is late 21. So I know I'm like doing a little bit of like a back and forth, but late 21 and just pulled the trigger, talked to my existing investor. We'd only brought in a little bit of money at that point, but just said, look, I'm taking the company in this other direction. And that's when I started Dialect and started with basically like how you reach users with like a totally new way to sign in on the internet, which is like every other product under the sun. It was like sign in with your email, which is a form of communication. And now all of a sudden you're connecting a wallet. And so we started with notifications and alerts. It's actually still alive today. But with a very ambitious spin, and that ambitious spin is like a totally different point, which ultimately evolved into what you opened this episode with which is the blockchain links, or Blinks. So those all tie together in some really interesting ways, and I think they also not only make crypto like not horrible to use, but also like, and this is the thing. I don't know if we have time for it, but I actually think these primitives, if we just throw out our assumptions, we can design the way you interact with things on the internet in a completely different way that's like crypto native from the ground up. We like talk about like the internet took 15 years to become like non-skeuomorphic with like print media. I think a similar event can happen for a crypto internet, but we just have to build from the ground up. And that's kind of how I see blockchain links doing that. So yeah, there's a lot of things of like fixing what's broken, but also taking it to a special new place.
I find that... and this is an obvious joke within the industry, is that it's just hard to use crypto. Yeah, I've been in the space for years, as of you, and I'm sure there are times where you're still like, am I sure I'm doing this right? Or like you're going slow, like half a mile per hour trying to figure something out and you're still nervous.
Which has been the excuse for slow blockchains, but it's not the excuse. We just need to design like a better UX. That's the...
So is that really the mission of Dialect then, to create a better user experience?
I'd say it's one framing of it. I actually just have this like... Yeah, like, so I'm a very I like to get things done really quickly. There's a term in like gaming called APM, or like actions per minute.
Okay.
It's like specific to like StarCraft. I don't know if you ever played games as a kid.
I've played games, but I didn't know the term APM.
So just like APM is like how fast can you do the thing you need to do? And it's like for the world's best players, it's like an actual number people track, almost like your batting average or something like that. And it just really instilled in me like once someone knows they want to do something on the internet, you just want to be able to get it done as quickly as possible. And so I've been like taking that. That's like the mission at Dialect, is like increase the APM of the internet, like let people get things done faster. And so I know we haven't explained like what blockchain links are yet, but the goal is like really to like help products navigate to users so that they can take action right where they are the moment they think they want to do something.
So how much faster have you made it then?
Not fast enough yet. It's still, the technology is super early, and we're like really early into like what I want to see it do. And I'm happy to like rant endlessly about that.
Well, I guess like, okay, maybe in the beginning it was like, let's say it takes us 5-10 minutes to do an action. Now you're trying to dial it down to...
Oh yeah. So maybe the best way to think about it is number of clicks.
Right.
So
okay.
Yeah. And I don't want to like go too deep into this too quickly, but I can explain kind of how blockchain links work if that's helpful. Okay. Yeah. So basically a blockchain link is just a URL on the internet that like basically the whole internet, everything that we do is either sites, apps, things like that. Anytime you're chatting with someone, they'll share a link of like, oh, check this thing out. Or, you know, your bank emails you and says, oh, your credit statement is due. Links are all over everything. Whether they unfurl nicely as like a link preview, or they're kind of embedded as like a fake button in a marketing email. Like the way that the URL works on the internet is it's almost always the call to action is for you to click the link to navigate to a site or an app or something to go get a thing done. So let's say you get your credit statement through your email, you click a button, you go to your Bank of America site or whatever, and you like click 80 times, you finally get to that. Yeah, exactly. Blinks use some uniquely like blockchain and crypto superpowers to turn that upside down and let products navigate to you. So the alternative, and again, it's purely hypothetical. We have not announced our like Bank of America partnership yet. It doesn't exist.
Coming soon.
Like for the record, it does not exist. But the mission, like the holy grail here is imagine right from within Gmail that like pay your credit statement. You click it and it's an actual like honest to God button that pays your credit statement right from the email. And so that's a long way off to like get, you know, native integrations into things like Gmail or Bank of America. But what we launched with Solana Foundation last summer is this for crypto native projects and apps. And so imagine, for example, you're using a mobile wallet and you get a notification telling you your position is at risk of getting liquidated, or this new token that you bought 8 hours ago is up 4,000%. Imagine you could have like a deposit, like top up my collateral button right from the alert, or you could have like a take 50% profit right on the button so you're not fumbling around. And that way, like right where you receive the alert or the message or the notification or anything else, anywhere that the link is shared, it's almost like the pithy thing I said a moment ago, products navigate to you. It's like you Blinks teleport a button right into the environment so you can take the action right from within your mobile wallet, for example. And we're still like mid-stride on a couple integrations there, but that's like kind of the dream with Blinks is products come to you. That way you're not navigating out. It's also like consumer benefit for consumer apps, because every extra click that your users are taking, you have massive attrition and fall off, especially if it's redirects to other sites. So we like to say Blinks like unbundle products on the internet and let you take action on anything from anywhere. That's the idea.
Can we blink on this podcast? I don't think you could. Can you integrate that onto like YouTube or something? Or
so that gets to like another interesting aspect of the launch with Solana. So last summer with Solana Foundation, what we did was we launched it with a very creative trick, was actually to partner up with the Chrome extension wallets. So imagine you're on Twitter or on web, like scrolling the Twitter timeline. A number of our launch partners like Phantom, the Solana wallet, Backpack, another Solana wallet.
Like Soulflare and things
Soulflare. And then let's say some experiences like Jupiter and a bunch of other projects. If you shared a link to like a Jupiter token pair, like jup.ag / and like you could trade these tokens, and you drop that on Twitter, Phantom or Backpack, the Chrome extension, whichever wallet of your choice, would detect that it's a blockchain link, and it would unfurl it not as a regular link preview, like image, title, description, but it would actually unfurl it with superpowers of like the actual ability to trade right from the timeline. All of which is to say, yes, there are some like cool tricks that are Chrome extension related that the wallets, we collaborated with wallets, because that's the Chrome extension everybody already has, to like bring these experiences into Web 2.
Yeah.
But it's not the main point because one, it only works on web. Two, it requires you to like have it turned on your Chrome extension, all that other stuff. And so it's a fairly brittle way to use Blinks. That said, the like launch tactic just went hyper viral. And now everybody thinks like Blinks are just for like, you know, bringing crypto into crypto Twitter. But yeah, they're just really, it's about teleporting buttons across the internet, increasing the speed of integration, stuff like that. Yeah.
When it comes to kind of your founder journey, you've been building on Solana for a number of years now. And Solana has had a fairly great comeback story.
Yeah.
Right. But you were one of the people building on top of it. What made you stick within it?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, if you're a founder or let's say an investor also, you're in the business of making non-consensus bets. It's just the size and like the magnitude of how non-consensus it is. And I think when I first discovered Solana, it was very non-consensus at the time. I was just really starting to really get into crypto. And I was asking my crypto friends, like, what about this? And they're like, oh, have you, you know, it's cool, it's fine, whatever. But have you heard of these other EVM chains? There's so much whatever.
It was all EVM.
This and that. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think there's a lot of really great technology out there. But I was just looking at things like proof of history and the way that Solana is designed. Goes all the way back to this first podcast that I heard Tolly on, talking about how he achieves parallelization, like insanely fast block times, insanely fast and cheap compute. And that just like, I'd not heard anything that really struck me as like profoundly as that did, especially with a little bit of my physics background. He came from Qualcomm and he was really talking at like a systems engineering and like a physics and information theory perspective. And I just like, so that's got me in the first place. But to answer your question about kind of like staying through, like we actually had a major launch about a year later at Breakpoint.
In 2022.
In 2022, on the last day of the conference. And the very next day, just like the whole FTX debacle. And the reason I bring all this up is like I was looking around and I was saying like, wow, this is like pretty intense and pretty crazy. Like, what do we want to do? And I just looked and I just said, none of this changes the fundamentals of like why I chose to build in this ecosystem. Nothing changes about the technology. Nothing changes about my impression of the founders and the core Solana team. We got to know a ton of people there. And then I looked around in the ecosystem and I saw like people like Mert and Armani and all these other like absolute legends in the ecosystem, like just doubling down and being like, this is the best tech out there. It's the best community. And it was just a no-brainer. So we actually had some of our biggest successes in 2023. Built a lot of really cool stuff and just on this sort of linear path toward blockchain links and similar ideas. That's been our mission all along.
Anything surprise you along the way? Aside from everything?
Yeah, I think like, honestly, the biggest surprise, I think probably building, I've just been chasing really cool tech and it is amazing to like kind of wake up and just be like, you know, the handful of us who sort of stayed around and built, there was a really solid and excellent community. Right. But to like see the ecosystem take off again, I'm just like, this is really like, it's just incredible to like make a sort of first principles, non-consensus bet and have it pay off in a really big way. So,
yeah. Chris, you guys have also integrated with EVM networks and Monad, right?
Yes.
I didn't even know Monad was live.
Testnet. It went out in late February, I think, like right before ETH Denver. I remember it was like maybe it was mid-February it launched. Yeah.
Okay. What was the decision behind expanding beyond Solana?
So a lot of our tech has actually been fully multi-chain for a really long time, including this like notifications and alert stack that we power as well. Our attitude at Dialect is like, because I think sometimes there's a little bit of this, like people are just expanding to different chains. Our attitude is always go where there's genuine interest and great talented partners. And so we've had EVM compatibility since July of 2024, just like few weeks after launch. And part of that was actually connecting with the OKX team. They did a big push and helped collaborate with us and Solana Foundation on expanding the Blinks specification because it's an open spec owned by Solana Foundation. But Solana's very positive sum. So we like very quickly within a couple of weeks expanded it to be totally blockchain agnostic. It operates under the CAIP. I think the chain agnostic improvement protocol follows all of that identification and whatnot. And then it was like great to work with OKX, but still we were mostly engaging with and seeing go-to-market opportunities in Solana. Then a few months later, Monad showed up and I've known Keone for a really long time, Kevin, and they were in it for the right reasons. They were interested in the tech for the right reasons, and they were really excited about it. And they said, "We'd love to work with you." And so really it was the go-to-market effort. And we only spend that when we're really excited to work with a team. So it was great.
Out of the 600 integrations, 600 plus integrations, how many of them are Solana, you would say, versus like EVM or Monad?
Like 99%. It's really just a matter of where you spend your time. And I think Monad is still a very early ecosystem. The kind of crazy thing is, it's like they had a testnet site. Very first thing you do is mint your testnet mon. That was not a Blink for various infrastructural reasons. But once you had your testnet mon, it's like scroll down, and normally you link out. There's like showcase, like here, do your first NFT thing or do your first token thing. The token thing was powered by Blink, so Uniswap, Monad, ourselves, to like buy your first meme coin. And because it was like a button you could smash right on the site, within that first day, we were like somewhere north of 5% of all testnet transactions were generated by Blinks, because it's like, give users an easier way to do something. They're going to do more of it.
Yeah, like providing an easy access point, you're going to get way more traction than not. Like the second I have to start clicking like multiple times to get out of a page to another page, like the odds of someone the odds of retaining someone like diminishes insanely, right? I'm sure you've done like
this is the holy grail of Blinks. That's the whole point, is just to like reduce clicks.
One click?
It would be great. I mean, some people want that, like simulate the transaction, then approve. That would be 2 clicks. What's a good
amount of clicks then?
Maybe 2, maybe 1. Depends on the company. So it's like, if you want the sort of instant auto sign, then it can be 1.
I think if money's involved, which typically in crypto it is, I would be fine with 3 or 4 clicks.
Yeah.
Because imagine if you click once and you're like, oops, there goes everything, which does happen with phishing attempts.
Yeah. And I think about like some of the best wallets have really beautiful UXs where it's not even a click, it's like a slide to complete all that. That's where you should be spending your time to like know what you're doing. But if you're fumbling between sites, it's just going to like increase error. So that's the whole point of Blinks.
Any expansion to other blockchains in the near future?
We've got a lot of inbound interest, but we're fairly selective. The number one thing we're spending our time on right now, and this is just general, like I think how like early stage startups, when you're trying to like invent a new product category or prove something new, you got to go deep and really make experience, like prove experience. And I think we've like barely proved the blockchain links experience. That's maybe the other piece of sort of like founder journey thing, is just like first principles, believe in what you're doing, and then you just got to grind, because I think we just have not figured Blinks out yet.
On Solana first then.
Yeah, so and like could be Solana, could be Monad, could be a couple other places, but really go after the big opportunities, like to work really closely with an amazing team and like really prove out the experience.
Any specific chains you're eyeing?
Well, no. Well, so it's really it's partners, and this is not specific to Blinks, or at least not in a way that I can talk about yet. But we're working really closely with Jupiter right now, and they've been an amazing team to work with. As I said, not specific to Blinks. They were doing something with
more for like user experience, everything, right?
Yeah, so getting notifications, alerts for the like infinite products that Jupiter has now. So it's most of our time is in Solana.
Taking a step back from Blinks maybe and thinking more about Dialect as a whole and the user experience, how would you categorize what it is today? Do you think it's still really bad, or we're getting there? Remember trying to move your assets between chains, watching the minutes tick by, wondering if your transaction would make it? Yeah, we've all been there. But here's the thing. While other bridges feel like taking the scenic route, Across is your express lane. Base, Arbitrum, Optimism, boom, boom, boom. Your assets move between them faster than you could say cross-chain. Across isn't just another bridge. When Uniswap needed the fastest, most reliable way to move assets cross-chain, they chose Across. Now, millions of Uniswap users are swapping between chains without even thinking about it, because that's how it should be. Whether you're moving assets yourself or building the next big thing in crypto, Across makes cross-chain feel like the same chain. No more scenic routes, no more complexity, just 2-second transfers between chains. Ready to join the express lane? Head to across.to and experience what bridging should have been all along.
Yeah, well, I think sort of the way we opened, I don't know if it was too abstract, but like just to this point of like, crypto's just different because it's a wallet is how you prove who you are. We are all using this like one massive user table in the sky, which is like math, creating these private keys that like allow you to prove who you are and do stuff and be fully self-custody. The problem is just a really wacky UX. And so today it still dominates that like, you're downloading a Chrome extension, which is not going to work in mobile Safari, for example. So like if you have an iPhone, good luck. Like,
yeah. And we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
desktop versus
exactly.
mobile.
So it's just like starting with this original sin of just being like 15 years behind schedule of like it's web only. There's no really good mobile support. And then it's, not like signing with Google is the gold standard and we've got a bunch of great companies like, Privy, Magic, Turnkey, creating these different solutions where you can sign in with an email. But I still think that's sort of driving us toward a congratulations. We're like, sorry, I should say this. I love those companies. I think they're incredibly cool.
It's different than what you're doing.
When I said at the beginning of like, instead of repeating what we've done with UX on the internet, which is sort of like signing with your email, you're now inside an app and you're in this walled garden where you can only do stuff with that app. I think Blinks are not... it's like a Venn diagram where there's this other thing you can do, which is instead of signing into apps everywhere, which let's get that better. Let's use the sort of social sign-in. That's what people are familiar with. The flip side of it is this, like, we can actually go where the internet hasn't gone before, which is actually to allow you to take action on anything from anywhere at any time.
Like, the internet has not gone there before. Crypto or not.
We have siloed authentication on the internet. So like, even if you're signing with your email on every site, you're actually generating a different set of authentication tokens. So if you're signed into like, I don't know, Spotify, you can't take an action on Bank of America. It's a different authentication. You can't just like ship a pay my credit bill from Spotify. Spotify doesn't know how to like authenticate, but the wallet brings that authentication to you using math, the key pair. And like, you really can take action on anything from anywhere. And so what we're trying to do is create that non-skeuomorphic UX of really letting products meet you anywhere.
Do you think the UX, both in crypto and outside of it, is kind of broken and or overplayed?
Say that one more time.
Okay, so maybe outside of crypto, is it overplayed, the UX, like the user experience, everything that's going on? It's like the same login, the same process, the same this.
Yeah.
And then in crypto, it's the same, but in a very different vein.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think, that's sort of the thing is like, yes, I'm building a crypto company, but it's because I believe crypto can eat the internet. And the number one way that crypto eats the internet is create like open, permissionless financial networks. Like that, I think we barely scratched the surface of the impact.
Better systems.
That's going to have. The other sort of second superpower of crypto is this ability to take action from anywhere on anything, sort of the self-custody nature. Yes, that's mostly about financial assets, but you really can prove who you are anywhere with this like cryptographic, like your keys. And I really like the goal with Dialect, like our crazy ambitious mission is actually to just like unbundle the internet more. And if we're right about this, it means, sorry, Jackie, to like answer your question more specifically, I think UX on the internet sucks. Like it's bad. And it's because we have to click too much stuff. And so the bane of every consumer product is like conversion from ads and like, how many clicks a user has to do. And like in consumer land, you're either like Facebook with like 4 billion users or whatever it is, or you're dead. Like there's sort of this notion that you got to get downloads and you got to get users into your own site, your own app, or you die. And so there's a very, very long tail of zero failed until you become like a Facebook. So there's only really room for the huge. And with Blinks, what we're trying to do is like unbundle the internet and allow like small business software companies to exist inside other people's products.
So they can succeed.
Yeah. And so it's about to get a successful revenue generating consumer business off the ground. You can like build bite-sized experiences that can get delivered remotely into other people's products via blockchain links, let's say. And I think of it as almost like a Shopify for software. And that's a wacky idea, but what I mean is like Shopify made it possible for like CPG, like consumer packaged good businesses to operate on the internet.
Launch and operate, right.
And in a way, the crazy ambition is like, we actually just like make it easier for you to just do anything from anywhere on any site. You can stay inside the super apps, whether it's Facebook or some of these others, but really engage with more products and services on the internet.
It gives the small guys a chance, essentially.
So I know I framed that from a business perspective, but from a UX perspective, it's sort of like a win-win in that like, anytime you have to go off site somewhere new, you lose a bunch of users. You have to do more. It's unpleasant experience. Let me give another quick example is like Apple Pay inside of iMessage is pretty magical. Like to not have to go to your bank and like enter routing numbers and all that.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it almost like Apple Pay, but for crypto integrated technology?
Yeah, it's kind of like anytime you can do something functional inside an app, like a chat app, it's like pretty magical. And Apple Pay inside iMessage is a walled garden. It's like an Apple finance product embedded natively in an Apple social product. But the goal with Blinks is actually to allow any action from anywhere. And so it would be like that on steroids.
This might sound stupid, but I remember when Apple Pay first started gaining traction, I was like, I'm not using it. I would take my physical credit card out of my wallet and use it. And I would always use the chip and all these things. I wouldn't tap to pay. And then over time, I think I live in the city, in New York City. And so for the subway, you could like tap your Apple Pay or whatever. And so I tried it out one day and I was like, okay, fine. Apple Pay works. And now all I do is Apple Pay. Sometimes I go out without a credit card.
Yeah.
And so do you find that with the technology you're building that there's almost like a friction point where people are like, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to use it.
100%.
It's too much. Yeah.
The number one objective, and I imagine, like, Jackie, you're referring to kind of like a safety concern, right? Like, it felt weird
or I
to
guess
you,
it's
or
just like, if it's not broken, why fix it? I'm so used to using my card, you know? And I think it was maybe a safety thing too, because I was like, how can this thing allow me to pay, on, you know, like through my phone? I don't know.
On the familiarity, you're always sort of like, we're always, whenever you introduce new behaviors, you're always fighting something, but you have to sort of believe with the fullness of time that your experience is better and that people will come around.
Right.
On the safety point, safety is actually the number one concern with blockchain links. Is the faster and easier you, exactly. You make something, the more likely someone might be able to screw it up. And that's sort of coming back to this like transaction simulation, slide to confirm, like really where time should be spent. Time should be spent. But one of my favorite quotes I ever heard was like that, like the telephone and email were like massive new kind of like security vectors in the world. It's a famous investor. I'm forgetting who said that.
Oh, I don't know, but I know what you're saying. I remember feeling that. Honestly.
And there's like, there was that whole generation of people who were like, I'm not going to read any emails on my computer screen. Please print them out for me. And I'm going to like read my emails on like a stack of paper. And like, I think inevitably the internet and the world moves toward more seamless, faster, like all that. So it's just an inevitable thing.
Yeah. I mean, even when I was younger, I felt like I didn't want to buy anything online.
Right.
And my mom, I love her to death, but she would spend hours like calling to pay her bills because she didn't want to pay it online. And now I'm sure she pays them online, but it's just like, people are very hesitant to new technology and sometimes better technology, hopefully better. So I think that's the reality.
I think the goal is also obviously to put really great safeguards in place. We're sitting on an amazing set of incredible, cool technology around this. So like, I think we've got a long way to go with great transaction simulation, all kinds of other stuff around trust and safety. And so obviously as you build a new thing, to like put great safeguards in place and design it from the ground up with that is important.
I feel like trust is a big thing. That's definitely poked and prodded in the crypto industry and undermined sometimes, but it's super important.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Before, you also mentioned mobile applications for crypto. And I feel like a lot of crypto is desktop based. And I am more likely to use an app if it's on a desktop. Again, here I am with like my own personal frictions. Than a crypto mobile app. Like I have, Phantom and other things, but even then I rather use the desktop application. And I think it's just maybe because we're so used to it. But how do you kind of see maybe that shifting over time, or is it already happening where we're starting to see like crypto adoption actually getting better through mobile apps? I do think we're finally on the cusp of like a mobile revolution in crypto, and I'm super excited about that. I do think the embedded wallet, these like next gen wallet providers that allow you to sign in with email, are a great step forward on being able to build the familiar experience. Like you're building a mobile app, you want to get users, all that. What I think is like also a greenfield opportunity for mobile, and like shamelessly, this is like what we're really pushing. I won't name anybody specifically, but we're talking to a bunch of mobile wallets about this. Is like I was saying before, like blockchain links flip links upside down on the internet. So instead of users navigating to products using links, products navigate to users. So imagine your mobile wallet becomes like your super app for everything you want to do on chain. So you can discover trending DeFi protocols, high APY opportunities to lend your USDC. Maybe you've got like Pi USD, the PayPal token. You open that token in your mobile app, like your mobile wallet, and you can see recommended things you can do with it.
And then you can take those actions right from within in like a safe and understandable and educatable. And always you can link out to the underlying site to see, but like you can take the action right from within your mobile wallet, letting crypto navigate, like letting basically like products like navigate to you, where you have your keys and where you trust signing and you trust execution and all of that. I'm really excited about that because one, it's like, and to your point, like, yeah, I use a bunch of web desktop apps, but more and more, I just like open Phantom every day, or I open Jupyter Mobile every day. Like that is this great view into your assets, but your assets can be your touch point and your discovery out to everything you can do on chain. So the other thing I would say is like, how do you know what apps to use? You're probably just like following a ton of Twitter accounts, right? Like, so even for new users coming off of say Coinbase for the first time, trying to get more on chain, just to like even know what's out there to be able to even do. That's the sort of flip side of it that I'm really excited about is, again, breaking down the notion of what it means to have an app as like an app is actually just a set of features that I can take from within a mobile app, like a wallet.
What about Backpack? When you were talking about that, it made me think about Backpack, you know, their wallet that they have. Is this a similar thing or do they use
and actually
Blinks?
I should have mentioned Backpack right at the get-go because they've been one of the earliest adopters of Blinks.
I've got it.
Yeah.
I've got it. We had Armani on as well. Yep.
Yeah. And I've known Armani since late 2021. And they've done an amazing and pioneering set of things in this same design space. So concept of Blinks is not new. I think there's a lot of interesting tech out in the world. Back in 2022, we were doing something called Smart Messaging, which was same principle, just different name. Solana Foundation was doing Solana Pay, which was sort of, we built smart messages on top of Solana Pay. Blinks are the sort of ancestor, or the whatever you want to call it, the sort of result of all that. Armani and Backpack were building something called XNFTs, which is a similar and very ambitious idea.
Right.
And they've kind of like, they've started working much more closely with us on blockchain links.
They came in.
Yeah, so we have an integration of blockchain links directly in Backpack, their mobile wallet, where you can, from the dApp Explorer, engage with and use protocols without ever leaving Backpack. And I think this is like the premier showcase of this ability today.
So when it comes to decentralized exchanges and bringing financial instruments on chain, how do you kind of think about the opportunity, whether it's Solana for the general crypto audience or people who are not in crypto?
Yeah, I think this might not be like the number one. If I was just taking like an objective look from like if I worked at a DEX or let's say I wanted to bring assets on chain, but from the Dialect point of view, I see this as in the same way that you might put your funds to work with like Bank of America has like a high yield or actually I don't think they do, but like a savings account or something that like you're working with some company that custodies your money. I know the blockchain works differently, but I think a lot of really innovative financial assets or financial instruments, especially in crypto, it might not be that users are interacting directly with them, but instead getting access and exposure to them through some aggregator like a DEX. And so I imagine in a big way, the way this might play out is take Backpack, for example, with Backpack Exchange. I don't think it's controversial to say that like Armani and his team are really interested in giving people access to doing more kinds of DeFi from within Backpack Exchange or Jupyter Mobile. And Jupyter, they're going after being the Solana super app. And so to answer your question, I really think of it as like, again, instead of everyone going to different sites to do stuff, it's more there's an aggregator or a super app that's in a strong position with users and they give them access to these generational financial instruments. And then of course, shamelessly, I'll say Blinks are the fastest way to do the integration. So yeah.
Dialect also offers developer-ready APIs, is what I read online, correctly?
You can think of Blinks as APIs for transactions. Like it's basically like AWS where you like call a URL and you get a transaction back. And so that's the API. That's one of them. And then the other one is alerts. So we offer like notifications. So it's just a bunch of APIs. How do you
think that changes the way developers can build? For better or for worse?
Yeah, I think sort of implicit in everything I was sharing about blockchain links is that it transforms the developer experience. And what I mean by that is normally, let's say you want to integrate some lending protocol, you might write some dozens of lines, maybe even hundreds or more lines of very specific, bespoke like code using their SDK. A blockchain link, you make an HTTP call to a URL and it returns that ready to sign transaction. So it's a one-liner. And so another way we think about Blinks is they're just an accelerated way to develop. And so to I think you mentioned earlier something like 600 plus
integrations.
The these are all APIs that return ready to sign transactions, or the vast majority of them are. And so it really is just a faster way to develop. That's cross-platform, cross-language, all of that. Yeah.
What else do you think can be done with these Blink integrations that you haven't seen yet?
Like 99% of it. Like I think
give me 1% of examples.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll 10%.
I mentioned a bunch of hypotheticals. I'll restate them. I really think the like incredible opportunity in front of us during this next wave of like once in a generation financial instruments, this DeFi, all of this, like just got off Coinbase, download like Backpack or Phantom or Jupiter Mobile for the first time.
And suddenly it's all there for you.
I've got some USDC in there. I open the USDC token view, and right there is like you can lend on this, this decentralized, and you never leave the app. You're just able to do it. It's like your banking app on steroids. It just would, and that is truly like a reducing user friction, helping with user discovery. And so we cannot wait to see that. Like I won't name any specific partners. We're driving to get integrations like that. Really just like bring product experiences and opportunities right to users' fingertips.
Right. Because I do feel like sometimes people are like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, exactly. So it solves the discovery problem too.
Yeah. So, you co-launching anything else with Solana anytime soon?
Still pushing Blinks forward. That's really like, this is our maniacal mission. And the launch last summer was great. As I mentioned, it was a little too heavily focused on social and sort of these tricks to get it into Web 2 platforms like Twitter. Thinking of it as APIs for transactions, just a orders of magnitude faster way to get ready to sign transactions for all the on-chain experiences that you want to integrate into your product. We're going to be pushing that narrative pretty heavily, and hoping to do. I don't want to say anything officially with Solana, but hoping to do some
You're
stuff
not doing anything.
But like thinking of Blinks as like the API for Solana. This is like, again, not their words. That's my words. But I think there's a lot of demand for something like that. It's like the API for Solana. It's kind of So
amazing. A couple years down the line, if you're looking back, what's something that you want to see happen? To be like, what do we want
to accomplish in the next couple of years?
I know that was a really reverse way to ask you that.
I know I've mentioned this a couple of times. It was so insanely viral when we did this Twitter thing, but it was very brittle, didn't really work. Like the sort of bringing crypto into crypto Twitter. Everyone's like, why aren't you like on YouTube and Instagram and all these and TikTok? I'm like, guys, it's not going to work anywhere on mobile. It's very brittle. 2 years from now, this is what I want to see. I want Blinks to be in every major mobile wallet. Like I've sort of mostly talked with you today about this next go-to-market phase. I want them powering earn experiences in centralized exchanges, in institutional providers, so that when some product manager or head of strategy at Twitter is like, wait, we need to revamp our crypto strategy, they look and they go, what's this thing that's powering all these experiences everywhere? I want the Twitter engineers and like the Twitter team to show up and actually integrate Blinks. That's the goal. So everyone thinks we like abandon social, and it's not. It's just a harder go-to-market strategy. And I would love that. Like the goal is really to basically be ubiquitous within the crypto industry, and then we'll take that first step out.
Amazing.
So yeah.
Anything else that you were paying attention to that you think the listeners should also be watching that we haven't already discussed?
That's like Dialect specific or just generally?
Just what you're interested in.
Man. Yeah, I'd have to think on that one. My brain is fried. I just like endless all day, every day on blockchain links. Yeah, I mean, I'll just say for Dialect, it's really, we offer two products. It's Alerts and it's Blinks. I like to joke that like Alerts is reach your users at the right time, and Blinks is in the right place, which is where they already are. And the two go really well together. So we're pushing some really great stuff. We got some great launches coming out in the next few months. More generally, just like really excited to see so much innovation and creativity like across the board, like with amazing new payments experiences, really beautiful and amazing new experiences within the mobile wallets, like hilarious new takes on like Pump Fun. I just met a guy today who's doing something that's like Polymarket meets Pump Fun, which I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but it sounds
You're
like
about to find out. Yeah.
It's just an amazing, just really experimental and fun and creative industry. So yeah.
100%. Last thing, Chris, can you leave us with a piece of advice, something that you've carried with you throughout your time in this space?
I think that this one is so much easier said than done, but it's really decide what you believe in and stick to it. we've had a really long road at Dialect. And the thing we even launched with Blinks last summer, everyone thought it was brand new. It wasn't. It was like 2.5 years old. The idea had different names at different times. Mm-hmm. So just you got to build for what you believe in. Like if you're making consensus bets as a founder, you're not going to make it. So just like really got to like sort of tailor your expectations. And like every day, if you think there's still an opportunity to continue doing what you're doing, you got to keep going for it. So
yeah. 100%. Amazing. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Appreciate it.
For sure.